As an older single guy, I need to chat with a woman every night before I can fall asleep. One day, I suddenly received a message. The person said, "Honey, I'm very obedient. You can command me however you want. Please." I rubbed my chin and sent her a steamy story full of affectionate scenes, asking her to read it to me. The woman had a delicate voice, but she stuttered as she read, her face flushed red, and her breathing was rather ragged. After finishing one chapter, she shyly wanted to hang up the phone, but I coldly commanded, "Keep reading." In the end, she almost finished reading the story with a choked voice. However, the next day, the president's daughter joined the company. When she introduced herself in front of all the employees, I listened to her delicate voice, and my heart raced. Things seemed to be getting interesting. "Honey, do I have to dress like this all day? It's so embarrassing." When I came back from a meeting and opened my phone, the first things that caught my eye were two messages from Sophia, along with an emoji of a blushing face. I tapped the table with my fingertips. Just as I was about to reply, I saw Sophia herself walking past me with a cold expression. She was tall and was wearing a one-shoulder mermaid dress. The black part was tailored to fit her body, highlighting her graceful curves, and the white tulle skirt gave a hazy sense of luxury, making her look extremely elegant and dignified. It was hard to imagine that such a seemingly high and mighty young lady would actually wear extremely tight underwear to work. Sophia seemed to sense my gaze. She turned her head and met my eyes, her look a bit cold. The next second, she walked towards me and said coldly, "Are you slacking off when you haven't finished the plan?" I turned my phone face down on the table and smiled, saying, "Miss, I just got back from a meeting. Don't worry, I'll give you the plan you want within today." Sophia's brows furrowed slightly. She didn't seem to like the title Miss. She glanced at me several times, as if she wanted to say something but held back. In the end, she left without saying anything. I watched her leave, and then, with a normal expression, I reopened the chat box with her and typed, "Go to the bathroom and change." Sophia quickly replied with an emoji of joy. I saw Sophia, who had just entered the office with a water cup, turn around and walk out again. The expression on her face became visibly more relaxed and cheerful. Before long, I received a message from her. Sophia said, "Those straps are really uncomfortable to wear." I pushed my glasses up on my nose and replied while writing the plan, "I didn't tell you to wear anything else." Sophia's chat box fell silent immediately. I saw that it kept showing typing for a long time, but she didn't send a single word. Not until I was almost done with the plan did Sophia send a 3-second voice message. I put on my Bluetooth headset and clicked to play it. I heard her ask in a slightly trembling voice, "No bra?" There was a thick sense of shame in Sophia's voice. I guessed she must be extremely ashamed, probably blushing and at a loss. However, I couldn't imagine what Sophia's cold face would look like when it blushed. It probably wouldn't be very interesting. I pulled my thoughts back and replied as concisely as usual, "Yeah." No more messages came from Sophia and me in the chat box. Soon, I saw Sophia walking stiffly towards her office. She still had a cold face and walked quickly, but seemed a bit at a loss. If you looked closely, you could still see her flushed cheeks. I nodded at Sophia and looked at her with a half-smile. When our eyes met, I saw Sophia awkwardly turn her head away. My eyes flashed, and I sent her a message, "Good doggy." Sophia glanced at her phone, and her face turned even redder. I had to write the plan and deal with other things, so I really didn't have much time to look at my phone. I just didn't look at my phone for 2 hours, and when I came back, my screen was flooded with Sophia's messages. The screen was full of crying emojis, and there was a pitiful sentence, "Talk to me, please, okay." It was obvious that Sophia was really idle. Well, if she wasn't bored, she wouldn't have found someone to play this game online. Just as I was thinking, my phone vibrated again. I didn't even need to look to know that it was Sophia sending me another message. I leaned back in my chair, took off my glasses, and rubbed the bridge of my nose. I was so annoyed that I didn't really want to continue playing this game. Coincidentally, the plan was almost completed. I printed it out and prepared to go to Sophia and have a showdown with her. As soon as I walked in, handed the things to Sophia, and was about to speak, Sophia looked up coldly and said, "Okay, put the things down and get out." Then she turned her eyes back to her computer screen. Sophia pursed her lips, and her fingers kept tapping on the keyboard, looking very serious. If it weren't for my phone constantly vibrating in my pocket, I would almost have believed she was really working hard. Seeing that I didn't move for a long time, she furrowed her brows slightly and looked at me impatiently, asking, "Do you still have something to do?" I replied, "No." My fingertips rested on my pocket, and I was silent for a moment. She said again, "Get out." Sophia said indignantly, "Can't you understand what I'm saying?" This girl, with such a beautiful face, actually had such a bad temper. I raised my eyebrows, said nothing more, and turned to leave. Before closing the office door, I caught a glimpse of Sophia staring intently at the computer screen out of the corner of my eye. Before entering Sophia's office, I originally wanted to have a showdown with her and end this boring master-servant game. But after seeing Sophia's annoying attitude just now, I immediately changed my mind. With such a bad temper, she really needed to be punished severely. Thinking of this, I took out my phone, opened the chat box with Sophia, and said, "Give me your address. I'll send you a gift." Sophia replied, "Really?" Sophia was even more excited than I expected. She quickly sent me her home address and phone number. She said, "This is the first gift from Honey. Puppy is so looking forward to it." Along with this sentence came a series of emojis of excitement and spinning circles. I looked at the phone message and then through the small window of the office at the cold-faced Sophia inside. I clicked my tongue slightly. This little girl really had two faces. It was already past 8 o'clock in the evening when Sophia received the express I sent. She couldn't wait to record an unboxing video for me. After seeing a bell necklace in the box, Sophia's hand paused slightly. She fiddled with the bell, and after hearing the clear sound from the bell, she let out an almost imperceptible smile. The video ended here. I was a bit confused for a moment. I didn't know what Sophia meant, whether she liked it or not. But soon, Sophia sent me a video call. In the video, her silk blouse was half unbuttoned, and she unreservedly showed her fair skin in front of the camera. A bell necklace that I bought especially for her was around her slender neck. She swallowed lightly, and the bell would also make a clear and pleasant sound. "Honey." Sophia lowered her voice and asked me with a half-smile, "Do I look good wearing it?" Every time she said a word, the bell on her neck would ring, tinkling, with an inexplicable alluring charm. "Not bad," I said truthfully. "It suits you well." I was worried that it might be a bit small when I bought it, but it fit Sophia perfectly. On the other side of the camera, Sophia only showed the lower half of her face. After hearing my compliment, I clearly saw her silently covering her blushing face with her hand. For some reason, Sophia's appearance during the day couldn't help but come to my mind: delicate features, cold eyes, and that always haughty look when she glanced over. Such a noble young lady, in a blink of an eye, was deliberately or inadvertently fiddling with the bell around her neck in front of the video, her voice soft and seductive, humbly saying sentence after sentence, "Honey, look at me more, praise me more." When I came back to my senses, looking at the constantly tinkling bell, the corner of my mouth suddenly curved into a smile. I deliberately lowered my voice and said softly, "Next, I want you to do something even more exciting." The breathing on the other side of the video became significantly faster. I could even clearly see the violent heaving of Sophia's chest, and she asked, suppressing her emotions, "Honey, what do you want me to do?" "I can do anything. You can command me as you like." I half leaned on the sofa, took a sip of wine, and didn't answer immediately. Sophia on the other side was obviously impatient. She bit her lower lip, looking so cute and pitiful. It was not until she called me honey again that I put down my glass and said with a half-smile, "Really? You can do anything. Really?" Sophia answered very quickly, almost without hesitation. She said, "I can do anything for you, honey." My smile grew wider. Under Sophia's expectant gaze, I slowly opened my mouth and said, "Then go out and run 5 kilometers with the gift I gave you." Sophia's body suddenly froze. I said, "Oh, by the way." I added slowly, "Don't hang up the phone. I want to watch you run outside with the bell on." Just thinking that Sophia would run with the bell, and every step would make a tinkling sound, and then passers-by would cast suspicious glances at her, and Sophia would surely be so embarrassed that she would want to find a hole to crawl into, I felt so good that I couldn't help pouring myself another glass of wine and urged, "Set off now." Sophia paused for nearly 2 minutes before reluctantly getting up. She didn't change her clothes specially, just buttoned up her clothes and went out. It was nearly 9 o'clock, and Sophia's community was brightly lit, but there were not many people. She moved her body a little and then started running. While running, the sound of the bell mixed with her slight gasp slipped into my ears through the earphones. The scene I expected didn't happen, and Sophia actually ran 5 kilometers and seemed to enjoy it. I was a bit speechless. Even when I went to sleep, my mind was full of the tinkling sound of her running. I didn't know if I had tortured Sophia, but I was really tortured myself. The next day, I went to work with 2 big dark circles under my eyes. I came to the company early, and there weren't many people there yet. Looking at the work piled up on my desk, I felt a bit annoyed, so I got up and went to the corridor to smoke. I leaned against the corridor and just lit a cigarette when I saw someone coming up from the stairway. Our eyes met, and I came back to my senses. I subconsciously nodded at Sophia. Sophia, however, furrowed her brows slightly, waved her hand to fan away the cigarette smoke at the corridor entrance, and said in disgust, "James, this isn't the smoking area, is it?" I smiled and said, "No, but no one comes here either." I calmly put the cigarette in my mouth and looked at her, saying, "Our company is on the 15th floor. Everyone takes the elevator, and basically no one takes the stairs." She said, "Just because basically no one takes the stairs doesn't mean no one does." Sophia was very insistent, her eyes firmly fixed on my cigarette, looking very unhappy. She said, "And smoking so early in the morning. Do you have that many troubles, James?" I glanced at her and still said calmly, "Miss, you're meddling a bit too much." Sophia's voice paused slightly, and her beautiful brows furrowed again. I found that every time we met, she would frown at me in disgust, as if she had always had a problem with me. I just wanted to relax in the early morning, but being lectured by Sophia like this made my mood even worse. I clicked my tongue, extinguished the remaining half of the cigarette, and ignoring Sophia's reproachful gaze, turned around and went to the bathroom. I washed my face and rinsed my mouth again to cover up the smell of cigarettes. When I came out of the bathroom again, I saw Sophia standing by the door with her eyes downcast, as if waiting for someone. I walked past her and went inside. Sophia slightly raised her eyes, as if she wanted to talk to me. But before she could speak, the HR rushed over and grabbed my hand, saying, "Brother, a new colleague has joined your group. I need you to train her." I lazily agreed and followed the HR away, not seeing the angry look on Sophia's face behind me. The newly joined colleague, Olivia, was a pure-looking female college student. The moment she saw me, her eyes sparkled, and she kept calling me honey. Compared to someone who got angry every time she saw me, she made me feel much more comfortable. After training Olivia, it was already noon. I stretched and opened my phone, raising my eyebrows in surprise. The reason was simple. Sophia had only sent me 2 messages this morning. According to the previous situation, as long as I ignored her for a while, Sophia's messages would bombard me like crazy. But today, I ignored her all morning, and she only sent 2 messages. It was really like the sun rising from the west. I clicked in and saw Sophia saying pitifully, "Honey, I feel like a male colleague in the company doesn't seem to like me." I couldn't help but pat my thigh. This girl's sixth sense was so accurate that she could completely remove the word seem. Then I glanced down and my body suddenly froze because I saw Sophia's next sentence, "Forget it. Anyway, I don't care. As long as you like me, honey." I really wanted to reply, "Actually, I'm the male colleague who dislikes you." After thinking about it, I held back the urge to reply and sent a consoling emoji. Sophia immediately sent back a hugging emoji. I saw her come out of the office, lower her eyes, type a line on her phone, and then send it. The next second, my phone vibrated with a new message. I opened it and saw 2 messages from Sophia. "I seem to like you more, honey. What should I do? I really want to see you." I was so startled that I suddenly stood up, accidentally knocking down the water cup and spilling water all over myself. Sophia happened to walk past me and was also splashed a little. I said, "Sorry." Looking at her wet skirt, I subconsciously wanted to get a tissue to wipe it for her. As a result, when I leaned forward, my phone also fell down and made a loud clang sound on the ground. Before I could pick it up, Sophia had already bent down. I belatedly remembered that my phone screen was not turned off. As long as Sophia picked it up, she would surely see the chat box on my phone screen and the 2 sentences she had just sent me. Oh no, I really didn't want to be discovered at this time. Just thinking about it made me feel so embarrassed. I immediately reached out to grab the phone on the ground, but I was a step too slow. Instead of getting the phone, I grabbed Sophia's hand. She looked up at me in surprise. After our eyes met, I forced a smile and said to her, "Miss, I'm sorry for getting your skirt wet. I'll buy you a new one to change later." Sophia's eyes swept across my face. After a moment of silence, she still replied, "Okay." Under my gaze, she slowly let go of her hand, and I finally turned off the screen and quickly stuffed the phone into my pocket. After doing all this, I saw Sophia leave without any suspicion. Then I leaned back in my chair and let out a slight sigh of relief. It was really a close call. I almost got exposed. I adjusted my complicated mood again, opened the delivery app, and quickly ordered a dress for Sophia. In about 10 minutes, the dress was delivered by the delivery guy. I carried the dress bag and went to Sophia, and solemnly handed this dress to her. She took a quick look at it, and said coldly and distantly, "Thank you." The corner of my mouth twitched, and I replied, "You're welcome." Then, without waiting for Sophia to remind me, I turned around and walked out. She probably didn't like seeing me, and coincidentally, I didn't really want to see her either. It would be best if we could maintain the distance of ordinary colleagues. Walking out of Sophia's office, I silently exhaled a breath of turbid air and said to myself, it's so annoying. I can't stand my female boss, and I'm starting to think about quitting this job more and more. I was so upset that I decided to go to the corridor for a while. But I didn't expect that the corridor, which was usually rarely visited, had someone in it today. Olivia was putting on makeup here. When our eyes met, she was a bit flustered and quickly put away the small box. James. Olivia's voice trembled with panic, and her cheeks were a bit red. Olivia seemed very embarrassed. She pinched the corner of her skirt and said, sorry, I'll go back to work right away. It's okay, I waved my hand. In the corridor, I stared out of the window in a daze, and neither Olivia nor I spoke. The small space was extremely quiet. Olivia stole several glances at me, and finally couldn't hold back and spoke up, James, what are you having for lunch? I paused for a moment, then it dawned on me that it was already the lunch break, and I hadn't ordered lunch yet. I looked at Olivia, met her expectant gaze, and asked somewhat helplessly, haven't you ordered food yet? I saw Olivia nod, and then simply said, come on, I'll take you to the cafeteria for a meal. Olivia's eyes lit up, and she quickly followed behind me. When she learned that I would treat her, Olivia immediately went into compliment mode, James, you're so nice. From now on, you'll be my only dear. Her non-stop compliments not only made me laugh but also improved my mood a lot. Just as Olivia and I walked into the company, chatting and laughing, I suddenly felt an extremely displeased gaze land on us. I followed the direction of the gaze and met Sophia's flushed face. When she saw me, she snorted coldly with a sullen face and turned back to her office. I was quite confused by her actions. What on earth was she getting so worked up about? Why was she giving me such a cold look out of nowhere? I didn't really want to deal with it, but then my phone received a message from Sophia. It was very short, just 5 words, come to my office. After seeing the source of this message, I caught my breath, because Sophia didn't send this message to James through the company's WeChat, but through the private WeChat we had been using to communicate. I tried to peek at Sophia's expression through the small window, but the blinds of the small window were pulled down, blocking my view completely. At this time, she sent another urgent message, a short sentence, come in immediately. Even from the punctuation, I could sense a hint of aggressiveness. I was speechless. Things were getting a bit tricky. I let out a long sigh and paced in front of Sophia's office door, not sure what kind of attitude to adopt when seeing her. Sophia's expression just now was definitely not good. I guessed she must be furious. After all, who would have thought that I, apparently her subordinate, was actually her master behind the scenes? Originally, Sophia and I were playing this game under the guise of the internet, consensually and harmlessly. But now that the truth was out, things had become difficult. However, since it had happened, there was no point in dragging it out. I took a deep breath, summoned up my courage, knocked on the door, and then pushed it open. As soon as I entered Sophia's office, something came flying towards me. Fortunately, it didn't hit me, but landed heavily on the ground in front of me, making a clear jingle sound. It was the bell necklace I had given Sophia yesterday. Sophia's eyes were red-rimmed, and she shouted, James, is it fun to play with me? If I hadn't noticed that the nickname on the delivery order was the same as the sender of last night's express, I would have been completely deceived by you. So it was the sender's nickname that exposed me. I was wondering how my identity was suddenly revealed. I really regretted not changing yesterday's address and using it directly for the sake of convenience. Sophia was so angry that she tightly gripped the pen in her hand and said resentfully, you've been doing this on purpose these 2 days, right? First, you deliberately ignored me, and then you made me do these embarrassing things on purpose. I really didn't expect that, despite your decent appearance, you're actually such a pervert behind the scenes. You're simply a perverted old man. Sophia deliberately emphasized the words perverted old man. I slightly raised my eyebrows and stared back at Sophia. Her expression froze, and she asked in a low voice, did I say something wrong? I didn't respond. Instead, I bent down to pick up the bell necklace from the ground. Under her gaze, I calmly walked around the desk and stood in front of her. Sophia seemed a bit uneasy. She moved back in her seat, frowned, and looked at me, asking, what are you going to do? I reached out and slapped her delicate face hard. When her cheeks turned red, I leaned close to her ear and whispered, you've been so disobedient. You deserve to be punished, don't you? Sophia's pupils suddenly constricted. While she was trying to dodge, I grabbed her arm and pulled her towards me. Caught off guard, she sat down on the chair. I pinched her chin, forcing her to look up at me. I could clearly see that Sophia swallowed nervously, and her eyes flickered. She was no longer as arrogant as before, but rather showed a bit of nervousness and anticipation. I sneered and said, this is really excessive. Clearly, you begged me repeatedly to join this game that we both agreed to play. How come now it's all my fault? I continued, even if I knew it was you, it doesn't mean you can order me around and shout at me. I gritted my teeth, grabbed her soft black hair, and pulled it back, saying, put yourself in the right place. The pain forced her head to tilt back, and a face that was excited and slightly flushed was completely exposed in front of me. She asked, are you going to punish me? Sophia's voice was clearly trembling. Just as I was stunned, she immediately pressed her face against my hand and said, I've really been a bad girl. She rubbed against my palm. When she looked up at me, her eyes were misty, with a look that I couldn't quite put my finger on. She added, bad girls should be taught a lesson. I looked at her with a complex expression. The development of the situation was beyond my expectation. I really didn't expect she would be so happy. Seeing Sophia keep rubbing against me, I quickly came to my senses and said, calm down. I pushed her away and said irritably, I'm not going to punish you. The current situation is dangerous. I know we can't continue like this. We must get this abnormal relationship back on track. I rubbed my temples and continued, before, I was just bored, so I agreed to play with you. Online, it was a consensual thing, and it didn't involve reality, so I didn't care. But now this game has affected my normal life. Coincidentally, you've also found out that it's me. Since that's the case, I'll be straightforward. This farce ends today. Sophia was taken aback, as if she didn't expect me to answer like this. She subconsciously pouted and was about to say something, but I didn't give her a chance. I directly untied the necklace around her neck and casually threw it into the trash can, saying, once I walk out of this door, I'll forget what happened before, and I won't mention it to anyone else. Miss, I stood by the door and looked back at her, if there's a problem with the plan, you can come to me anytime. My subtext was that we should not mention other things. We could only be ordinary colleagues, nothing more. I left calmly, not seeing Sophia looking down at the bell necklace lying in the trash can with a somewhat disappointed expression. After walking out of Sophia's office door, I immediately blocked and deleted her private WeChat. After that, I finally felt a bit better, as if the air in the office had become fresher. I sat at my workstation and quickly put this matter out of my mind, calming down to continue working. The whole day was peaceful. Before I knew it, it was already time to get off work. I stretched, packed my things, and was about to leave. Olivia pushed her chair and came over from the side, smiling brightly and saying, James, you treated me to lunch. Can I treat you to dinner tonight? I thought about it. Since I had nothing else to do in the evening, I agreed to Olivia's invitation. Olivia was immediately overjoyed and excitedly spun her chair around. The little girl's thoughts were all written on her face. I smiled but didn't expose her. As Olivia and I walked out of the company together, we met Sophia at the door with an expressionless face. I originally wanted to say hello to her, but Sophia completely ignored me and walked past me without even a glance from the corner of her eye, as if I were a stranger. I paused for a moment, then quickly continued walking and chatting with Olivia. I didn't notice that after walking a short distance, Sophia stopped and stared pitifully at my back for a long time until my figure disappeared from her sight. Olivia was really lively and talkative. She dragged me to have dinner for almost 3 hours. She talked about everything from the south to the north, even telling me how many kittens her family's cat gave birth to each year. After dinner, Olivia became even more excited and asked me, James, there's a nice bar nearby. Do you want to go there for a drink? I said indifferently, sure. You little girl like to have fun, and coincidentally, I'm free. It wouldn't hurt to go and have some fun. But unexpectedly, Olivia was bad at drinking but still eager to play. She couldn't handle alcohol at all. After drinking 2 glasses, she was already dizzy and her eyes were spinning. She held an empty glass, leaned on my shoulder, and shouted with a flushed face, drink. Why aren't you drinking anymore? I helplessly carried her to the street to hail a taxi and said, come on, you drink by yourself. I took out a mineral water bottle and poured some water into her empty glass to coax her. Olivia looked at the water in the glass, seemed very satisfied, and obediently drank the plain water. Then I sent her into a taxi. After finally getting her sent off, I was exhausted. This evening had been more tiring than a day at work. I stood on the street, let out a long sigh of relief, and when I looked up, I saw Sophia hiding under a street lamp not far away, looking at me with a complex expression. When our eyes met, Sophia instinctively tried to hide, but then realized there was nowhere to hide, and she stood there awkwardly. Just then, a group of drunk men came out of the nearby bar. The man in the front staggered and bumped into Sophia. He was cursing at first, but when he saw Sophia's face, he immediately changed his tone. Lady, you're really beautiful. Are you alone? Come with me. I'll take you for a drink, okay? The man pulled at Sophia, and Sophia shook off his hand and said, "Let go of your dirty hands." The man grinned and said, "Oh, you're quite feisty. I like your type." Sophia tried to break free from the harassment, but there were so many of them. In a blink of an eye, 7 or 8 strong men surrounded Sophia. One man grabbed her arm, and another reached out to put his arm around her neck, pulling her towards him. Facing these drunk and irrational men, Sophia was completely helpless. She shouted, "Get away, or I'll call the police." But no matter how much she struggled, she couldn't break free from their restraint. Sophia's threat not only didn't scare them but instead made them more arrogant. The men laughed and reached out to touch Sophia's face, saying, "Your skin is so tender." Sophia's face turned uglier and uglier. She was so angry that she was trembling, but she was held firmly and couldn't dodge. Just as the man's hand was about to touch Sophia's face, I threw aside my briefcase and grabbed the man's wrist. I acted quickly and decisively. Without saying a word, I twisted his wrist hard, and the man let out a painful howl. While he was still in shock, I took out a sharp keychain and put it on my left hand, then slammed it hard into his face, instantly making 3 cuts. At the same time, I coldly warned, "I suggest you let go." I then took out a knuckle duster from my pocket and grabbed it with my right hand, adding, "Otherwise, it won't just be a matter of getting disfigured." The others were startled by my sudden actions. They stood there stunned for a moment. Even Sophia stared at me in a daze, her mouth slightly open, looking completely disbelieving. The other party gritted his teeth and cursed, "Bastard." Before he could finish, I aimed the knuckle duster at his eyes, and his words got stuck in his throat. He was so angry that his face turned red, but he didn't dare to say anything more, for fear that I would really do something. Perhaps it was because of my tough attitude, or maybe the wind had sobered them up a bit. Anyway, they realized that I wasn't joking and that I would really take action. The men exchanged glances, then let go of Sophia and stopped pestering her. They quickly disappeared into the night. Sophia stood there, breathing slightly heavily. Clearly, she hadn't fully recovered from the nervousness. Her eyes landed on me, and a complex emotion flashed through her eyes. After a while, I heard her say in a low voice, "Thank you." "It's nothing." I picked up my briefcase, glanced at her, and said, "Miss, your face is too eye-catching. You should be more low-key when you go out in the future and protect yourself." After saying that, I was about to leave, but Sophia grabbed my hand. I turned around and saw her looking down, looking vulnerable and helpless. "I'm still a little scared. Can you stay with me for a while?" Sophia pursed her lips. Seeing that I didn't respond, she added in a pitiful whisper, "Just for a little while." I let out a long sigh. Since she said so, what else could I do? I could only stay. After sitting with Sophia for a while, I softened my heart again under her pitiful gaze and sent her to her apartment building. When we reached the entrance of the community and I was about to go back, Sophia pulled my hand again. I frowned and asked, "What else do you want?" Sophia was silent for a moment, then as if she had mustered up her courage, she said, "Can you add my contact information back?" "What?" I didn't hear her clearly. Sophia looked up at me, then repeated it reluctantly. Seeing me frown, she added pitifully, "I don't mean anything else. We don't have to continue that kind of relationship. We can be friends in real life, right?" Sophia pursed her lips, and her beautiful face was full of tension and unease. I sighed. Under her expectant gaze, I added her back as a friend. After adding her, Sophia finally showed her first smile of the night. I blurted out subconsciously, "You look really nice when you smile. Smile more in the future." I thought to myself, she shouldn't always look so cold, like an iceberg. Sophia's eyes lit up, and she immediately nodded with a smile, "Okay, I will definitely smile more in the future." I raised my eyebrows, said nothing more, and directly hailed a taxi to go home. When I got home, it was almost 1 o'clock in the morning. I didn't feel relaxed at all. I was as tired as if I had worked overtime for 3 days straight. I leaned in the bathtub, poured myself a glass of wine, and was about to relax when my phone vibrated a few times. Sophia sent 2 new messages. "James, do you not like me? Do you like the type of that intern?" I was completely confused. Before I could reply, Sophia quickly withdrew these 2 messages. Since she withdrew them, I simply turned off my phone and pretended not to see them. Replying would probably make things more complicated, and I hate complicated things the most. I lay comfortably in the bathtub, feeling drowsy. After a long time, Sophia sent another message saying, "See you tomorrow." I still didn't reply. After that night, my relationship with Sophia unexpectedly improved. She no longer looked at me with that haughty look. When we met at the stairway, Sophia shyly took out an e-cigarette and handed it to me, saying softly, "Well, I checked some literature, and it says this kind is less harmful to the body." Seeing that I didn't move, she added in a low voice, "It's mint flavored. I noticed you seem to like mint flavor. It's not an expensive thing. Just consider it a thank you gift for your help last time." I scratched my head. Since she said so, I had to accept it. Sophia looked obviously happy when she saw me accept it. That afternoon, she even invited the whole team to have snacks and milk tea. I don't like sweets, so I didn't take any. Olivia, who was sitting next to me, was enjoying it. She said, "James, these are snacks from a 5-star hotel. Are you really not going to have any?" Olivia tried to persuade me. I directly refused. "I don't like them." "You can have them." Olivia's eyes lit up, and she quickly asked, "James, if you don't eat them, can I go and get your share?" I found it a bit funny and nodded for her to go. Olivia was so happy that she almost jumped up. Then she took the snacks and came back hesitantly, asking, "James, if you don't like sweets, what do you like to eat?" I was writing something, and I answered briefly, "Fruit, I guess." Olivia nodded and then asked, "Do you like watching movies? Or outdoor activities like mountain climbing?" When I heard this question, I slightly raised my eyebrows. I turned my head and saw Olivia holding a small notebook. I asked with a half-smile, "Have you finished your work? You're asking all these questions here." Olivia trembled, laughed it off, and then turned back to type on the keyboard quickly. I took a glance and found that the profile picture of the person Olivia was chatting with looked very familiar. It was clearly Sophia's private WeChat. When did these two get so close? I was quite puzzled. Recently, Sophia has been showing up in front of me more frequently. Even on weekends, when I went for a run in the nearby park, I would run into her walking her dog. She would come over with an innocent look and say, "What a coincidence." I said speechlessly, "Not really. Your home is 8 kilometers away from mine." 8 kilometers. I really don't believe you walked all the way here with your dog. Sophia was stunned for a moment, then quickly regained her composure and explained, "I have a best friend here. I came to see her and didn't expect to meet you." If she hadn't been stealing glances at me while she was talking, I might have actually believed her. When I went for a run, she would trot along with her dog. When I went to eat, she would order the same meal as me. When I went home, she would stand at the entrance of the community, looking at me pitifully. Even if I was a bit slow-witted, I could tell that Sophia had been acting weird lately. She was trying every means to find out my preferences and was pretending to run into me in various situations. This was exactly the situation I hated the most. I didn't want to expose her at first, hoping she would give up on her own. But she just kept on with her little tricks and became more and more pushy. Besides the staged encounters and her cutesy acts, Sophia would deliberately keep me at work alone until night under the pretext of work. Then she would act as if nothing was wrong and say, "Honey, you've worked so hard overtime. Let's go have a big meal together." I looked at her innocent, damsel in distress expression helplessly. I had wanted to punish her several times. It wasn't until Sophia used this trick for the 5th time that I finally couldn't hold back and decided to have a showdown with her. I asked, "What on earth do you want?" I grabbed Sophia's chin, and she didn't resist at all, letting me hold it obediently. Her eyes flickered slightly, and she said, "Honey, I don't know what you're talking about." As she spoke, she deliberately leaned closer to me. I was speechless. She was still pretending, and I was so annoyed that I just came right out with it. I said irritably, "Stop playing these petty tricks. I'm not falling for that innocent act crap. It's not only useless but also really gets on my nerves." Sophia was taken aback. Just when I thought she was going to pretend to be wronged again, she suddenly looked up and asked seriously, "Then what method would work?" I muttered a curse under my breath, let go of her hand, and said helplessly, "Are you really that stupid or just pretending? Can't you understand I'm rejecting you? I'm not interested in starting a new relationship right now. I've never been into all that lovey-dovey stuff. I'm doing just fine on my own. I really don't want to date anyone." Sophia stood there and said in a low voice, "I see. But you might change your mind in the future. I want to be by your side for now. So when you do want to date someone, you'll see me as soon as you turn around." Her stubbornness left me fuming but with no way to vent my anger. I hardened my heart and threatened her, "I'm at this age, and I'm not in the mood for dating. If I do, it's going to be for marriage and having kids. Aren't you scared?" I mean, she was just a young girl. How could she not be scared of marriage and having kids? I thought that after saying this, Sophia would back off. But to my surprise, instead of being scared, her eyes lit up instantly, and she said, "Really? Like getting married right away? And having your kids after getting married? Then I want to date you." I felt like a breath was stuck in my chest, neither going up nor down. In the end, I could only turn around and leave. I was helpless. If I couldn't handle her, I could at least avoid her, right? That conversation ended with me backing down. Maybe because I had seen through Sophia's thoughts, she stopped hiding. She was like a clingy person, always around me every day, and no matter how I tried to get rid of her, she wouldn't leave. The only good thing was that she no longer deliberately made me work overtime and then cajoled me into having dinner with her. Now she would just straightforwardly ask me to have a meal. If I refused, she would deliberately act pitiful and keep asking, "Really not okay?" Until I gave in. I once asked her, "What exactly do you like about me? I'm just an ordinary person. After all these years, I've only managed to become a team leader. I don't have much of a future, and my personality is just average. I really don't understand what about me could attract you." Sophia replied, "The night you rushed to save me, you were so cool." At that moment, I thought, you were practically broke, yet you dared to face so many burly men alone without even thinking about whether you'd get beaten to a pulp and not be able to afford medical bills. I just thought you were amazing and so handsome. I was helpless and quickly interrupted Sophia, saying, "If you don't know how to compliment, don't force it. And you don't really like me. It's just because I saved you, and that moment made your heart race, so you mistook it for love." I tried to explain to Sophia that what she felt for me wasn't really love. But Sophia looked at me deeply and said softly, "But I dream about you." I was stunned. Before I could react, I heard her say in a low voice, "Every night, and they're those kinds of dreams." My mind went blank for a moment. Sophia moved closer, and although she was trying to hold back, her eyes were fixed on my face. After a long while, I heard her swallow nervously, and then she blushed and asked me, "Honey, can we hold hands?" I realized belatedly that Sophia had done many rather risque things under my orders. She didn't blush for those, but now, just for the simple act of wanting to hold hands, her face was this red. What a strange girl. I reached out and took her hand, saying, "Miss, there's no need to be so shy about this." Sophia was startled by my sudden move. Then the blush on her face became even more pronounced. We walked along, holding hands a bit stiffly. Her palm was slightly sweaty, but she never let go. And this time, neither did I. This video has received 1,000 likes and shares. I'll update the story later.